Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renae Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to the Space Between Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to the second part of my two-part episode with Brad. If you haven't listened to episode 1, I encourage you to check it out on my YouTube channel so you can watch the whole episode, or be sure to check it out on any podcast app where you get your podcast. And while you're there, definitely leave a review for the Space Between Podcast. Say something nice, say something you'd like to see happen on the show, and I'll be sure to check those out and read those on a future episode. So guys, here we go. Here's part 2 with Brad. Enjoy the show and be sure to leave a review.
I had joined the methadone clinic in Florida because the one in St. Louis is like, oh, we have a sister clinic and where you're moving, and we can get Sure you can, of course you can. They have them everywhere, coincidentally.
They do.
And they, so they're like, oh, we'll get you down there. So I'm like, okay, I got out of St. Louis because I had already made my decision. I'm done with this drug. I'm now done with this other drug because I was already stair-stepping that dose and planning my jump off. I just didn't know how or when or why or what. So I moved down to Florida, and it was just kind of coincidence of timing as to how it all happened. But I get down to Florida and basically had nowhere to live for a couple months in between a lease that was going to be whatever. So we had found a good deal on using like Groupon and staying at like hotels for the short term, and literally stayed on the beach of Fort Lauderdale for my first few weeks in Florida.
Wow. And
I would wake up every morning down there by the beach. My car's valet parked because that's your only option. I'd get the valet 6 a.m. I'd go to the freaking methadone clinic that was 20 minutes away. I'd drink my juice and I would just lay on the beach and bake in the sun, smoking marijuana constantly. And all I did was just water, sun, marijuana. And the marijuana was for those side effects, that uneasiness, that upset stomach, that, you know what I mean, the anxiety, the nerve, the shaking, the knees that won't stop bouncing, and the stomach pains, the cramps, the this or that. That was the marijuana, but it was copious amounts. I mean, it was smoking like I was growing it. I mean, I was just literally just smoke freely. But I think it was the combination of that and the sun. Just baking in the sun. The sun is so healthy. After living in Florida for 9.5 years, I really believe that. And
everybody needs sunshine. It's science. Yes. You have to have it.
Yes. So I'm one of those people that I'm just I was never that kind of guy. I'm never a nature guy. I'm not a, whatever, but after experiencing it, that direct heat just beating on your body and sweating out that poison. And that's what it was. It was poison. And I'll stand by it to this day. It was the high dose of marijuana that kept my brain sane, you know what I mean? And not going for wanting to wander off or go get dope. I had the willpower to stop because that I had for a long time and I couldn't. So that's half of it. You know what I mean? You get the willpower, you find the whatever, but it was that medicine, it was the marijuana. And I never realized how important that plant really was. But, it's a hell of a plant.
Dude, it is, yes, it is. It's saved my life. It saved your life. It saved a lot of people's lives in different ways. For different things. It is the most flexible drug that is all natural and not made of poison. I mean, I'm a nurse. I'm not protesting medication. I am so happy for it. I love that we have these things. However,
nothing beats
there's not a lot well, there's not one thing that I can say that is as broad as marijuana is.
And it's still
It
such a
can do
curious
a
plant
lot of things.
because
It's
no other
still such a what?
it's such a curious
Curious
plant
plant.
still to scientists
Mm-hmm.
because no other
Mm-hmm.
plant is like it. It doesn't make sense to the what do they call those? To the plant peoples, the plant scientist guys are like these people.
Yes,
Like they
botanists.
still
I don't know.
botanists and stuff. Yeah, I was drawing blanks. I'm like, what are these people? Yeah, plant people. No, like they still scratch their head to this plant. It's still being heavily researched. They don't really, you know what I mean? It's not like they don't have answers to a lot of questions of the plant. So I think
Yeah,
it's
I've been studying it for so long. It's,
yeah,
from time to time, I'm reminded of well, they're ridiculous movies that came out in the 30s and 40s, like Marijuana
the
Madness. I
ones
mean,
that
they
were
really,
scared.
for the whole, for basically all of time,
Yeah,
have shamed this drug and made it have such a heavy cloud around it as being a bad thing, a thing that bad people do,
sure,
a
sure.
party thing. And I'm like,
No,
what the fuck are y'all
like
talking
I'll be honest.
about?
When I smoked weed when I was 16 years old, I got high. I got so high I couldn't drive a couple times in my life. Back then.
Sure. I'm not saying that that doesn't happen.
At 38 years old, I am here to tell you, I consume marijuana from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. I do have one other story to tell you about my life still here, another chapter that we haven't touched on. And there's
I
reasons
can't wait.
why I do smoke the copious amounts of marijuana that I do still to this day now. I had that copious amount where I binged it to get off of that methadone. Then I was always just a
Mhm.
casual smoker, or whatever. Then another chapter comes into life and I become the copious user I am today. And I smoke from the time I go to, like I said, the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. This time that we're spending right here is like the longest time I'm going to go without smoking my
I
bong.
don't know why you're doing that because I've been smoking the whole time. Hello. Cheers, friend.
But yeah, it's still not as satisfying to me as the flower. I'm a big flower guy, and I've noticed
Oh, oh,
medicinal aspects of flower. And I know some people can't smoke because of lung issues or throat issues or other
right,
stuff.
right.
Um, but the medicinal effects I get from a flower versus getting from a oil or a edible or
Hmm. It
something,
is all different.
it's totally different, and the spectrum. And that's why
Yep.
some people are like, oh, I have an ailment, and they say medical marijuana would be good, but I tried it. It does the try
Hmm.
again. Try another
Right, right.
product, another variety. Try another strain. Try another. Did you try chocolate? Did you
Exactly.
try
It's
flour?
just like any other drug. If you have a side effect, let's talk about it and let's adjust that a little bit, just like you would any other medication
And
that
this is
your
why
doctor
marijuana
has
needs to be talked
prescribed.
about more because people don't talk about it. They're
Hmm.
like, oh yeah, he tried that. It doesn't work for him. Like, well, are you sure it doesn't work for him, or did what he used not work, and maybe we need to use something else? You know what I mean?
It's
So,
wild to me, and even
I
more wild to me because I am a nurse and I hear the way people talk about medications.
yeah.
And they just would never talk about marijuana in the same way. And I'm like, you do know
Oh
that
yeah,
doctors are
doctors will put
prescribing
you on
this
one
shit.
pill, and they'll put you on another pill, and they'll put you on another pill, and they'll put you on another pill until they find one that works for your
I
ailment.
mean, they will because
Yeah,
you have to take a pill for the pill for the pill for the pill. And I've never had to take anything.
knock on.
Uh, yeah. Like marijuana has done more for my life than any other medication has
Sure,
ever
sure,
done for me.
sure. And through my addiction, I had multiple times. Like, no, I didn't have the money to go do those, big expensive rehabs, but I did do a couple hospital detoxes. So
Mhm.
those, a rehab might have costed 30 grand, but it might have only been like a grand. You know what I mean? For me to go to one of these
Right.
hospital 3-day detoxes, and I did the 3-day detox, and they put you on that type of stuff. They put you on anti-anxiety medication. They give you a sleeping pill. They give you this. They give you that. And I remember
Mhm.
hating feeling not me. And that's
Yeah.
the thing I can say about heroin. Once again, for all those people, there's a lot of people out there like, what's heroin like? What's heroin like? You can't describe drug usage to a lot of people. It's not very easy.
Well, and not everybody is going to experience the same thing.
That too, that too. But the one thing I could say is I always knew I was Brad when I was on heroin. I was
Mhm.
always me. I always knew
Right.
what I was doing. I always knew the decisions I was doing. I knew, you know what I mean? Whether it was You know, and I had a crazy scare one time where I'd done some dope and drove, and I fell asleep at the wheel and crashed my car terribly. I nearly died from it. The car flipped 210 feet off the highway. From the time it left the highway to the time the car stopped, it barrel rolled. So, you know, if the car was, you know, this little object, it just sat there and did this for 210 feet.
Wow. Wow.
That was one of the near death.
Wow.
And to me, it's like, I look at that as like one thing in my life, but that was because of heroin. And, you know, fall asleep at the wheel. I was visiting my girlfriend who was staying at college about an hour and 20 minutes away from my house. And I had
Mm-hmm.
work the next morning. Me and her, obviously, two young bunnies, we stayed up all night. And, you
Yeah.
know, we had done dope and we were up all night and I got no sleep. And the next morning I was so tired and strung out and on the highway going 75, 80 miles an hour and right off the road.
Wow.
So there was another
That's
car that
so intensely scary.
he came to a complete stop and he was running towards my car, and I'll remember this for the day, till the day I die. The car landed on its roof, smashed.
Mm-hmm.
All the glass was smashed out of the car. The whole roof was smashed to almost where the car looked like a pancake almost. It was just a Honda Civic coupe, nothing fancy, nothing super safe, or you know, I mean, it was safe, but it wasn't anything like
Hondas
technology
are safe.
of those days.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the car landed on its roof, and I remember, you know, the first thing when the car finally came to a stop after doing all those barrel rolls was get out of this thing. Get me out of this thing. Get me out, get me out, get me out. The panic. You didn't know, I didn't know if it was on fire or what, if I'm dead, if I'm, you know, off the side of it, because I don't know what.
Right.
So
Right.
I remember kicking the door ajar enough that it was and I could crawl. I crawl through, and I remember crawling out, and I was able to move perfectly. Nothing hurt. Nothing was whatever. You know what I mean? But I was confused, like totally, like you know what I mean?
In shock.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the guy who had stopped on the highway was running down the field towards my vehicle, and I crawl out and stood up, and he froze in his footsteps,
As one would.
running towards my car and froze. Basically, he saw this accident happen right in front of him, and he's sitting there probably thinking there's no way anyone survived that.
Exactly.
And I hopped out of that
And
thing
you just
with
crawled out.
I had scratches from the glass on my face and some small little cuts or
Mm.
that nature. Ambulance shows up and such. I refused ambulance ride. The tow truck drove me to the tow yard where I waited there for my father to drive an hour plus from St. Louis to wherever and pick me up.
Oh my God.
Didn't go
Yeah, I've
see a
not
doctor,
heard that story before.
a hospital, a nothing. And it was, I have pictures still to this day. You know, I can always send you sometime.
No, I'm good. Thank you. I
To
I
see
worked in
all,
the ER for 3 years as a nurse, and it was actually a car accident that involved some children that made me leave that job. I
it's
could
the,
no longer do it.
it's, if you've never been involved, have you ever been involved in a bad car accident?
No, it is actually one of my worst fears in my
It,
life.
and it should be for a very good reason. To all you listening out here at all, if you haven't, you know, I mean, it's a scary time. The sound of crunching metal and glass is unlike anything else
Mm-mm,
I've ever experienced in my life.
mm-mm. I've
Um,
seen too much. I know too much.
it's bad. And that's, you know, with the next chapter we might touch in here a little bit. You know, it's why I live my life like this is it. I live my life
Hmm.
like we're not promised tomorrow. None of us are promised tomorrow, but no one lives their life like it. Um, your roof could collapse on you tonight while you're sleeping. You could die in
Yeah,
a car crash tomorrow. Lightning could strike.
exactly.
You could choke on a chicken wing bone. You could. Who
Yes,
knows
there are so
what
many
reason?
things.
Any millions of. If you ever remember that show, Thousand Ways to Die or whatever they used to
I
have.
hated that because it was like I'm gonna die any second, every second. That
And
just made you realize.
I remember one of the funniest ones. I remember that show, and it's like there was a woman who died from suffocation because she was using an inversion table. You know those inversion tables where you lay upside down?
Yeah,
Her
yeah.
boobs were so big that when she hung upside down, she suffocated herself. True. This is a true story, they say. I mean,
Wow.
you hear these things of how people have died, you know what I mean, in this world. Like, we are
Like it's hard to
creatures.
believe.
We are very fragile creatures here. You know what I mean? And it's like
Hmm.
one of the strongest things about us is actually our feelings or whatever. You know what I mean? When you can just not give a about whatever. You know what I mean? Like, take advantage of that strength because your head's not that strong. You get cracked in the head with a hard object, it's cracked that you're dead. There's
That's
so many
right.
things in this life that aren't that tough. You're tougher inside. Be tough
Hmm.
because we're
Hmm.
fragile. If
We
you're
are fragile.
fragile, you're gonna crumble.
Hmm.
So I've lived a life of having to be tough. I'm all of 5'7", 135, 140 pounds. You know what I mean? But many people who meet me or whatever, they're like, who the hell is this guy? Who does he think he is? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't think I'm necessarily anything, but I'm not scared of another man. I'm not scared of a big guy. I'm not scared of a this or that. You know what I mean? I'm scared of
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. There's so
Life is,
much to be scared of. It's crazy. It is
and that's,
crazy. I mean, you never
yeah,
know.
Dave's here. We listen to music to take our time away from the stresses of life, the worries of life. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Not
Hmm.
that,
Hmm.
so,
And that's how people have described it. If you can get, people want to say all these crazy things about why could you go to all these Dave shows? Why do you do all this stuff? But honestly, it's really not. It's not for us. We love Dave Matthews because that's our favorite band.
yep.
But if you find an activity, I don't care what it is, I mean, I do care what it is, but
Yeah, as long
if you
as
can find a
hopefully safe,
good legal
hopefully,
activity
yes,
that will take away the daily stress of, oh
yes,
shit, I almost died, or oh my God, how am I going to pay that electric bill?
yep,
Uh, how
yep.
am I going to get another? I mean, like all the shit that you got to process every day. If you can find something that'll take your mind off that for 2 hours, fucking do it.
And
And
all we
that's what
found
Dave
was just,
Matthews Band is for us.
yeah, this is just a
Yeah.
band. There's so many things out there you could find. We just happened to find us one band, one song. Some people have a song that just drove them in. It's like, for me, it
Mm-hmm.
was the live experience. It was the experience. It was the live. It was the differentness, the change,
Yes.
the evolution of it. It's just so, it's rock and roll. It's music. And
Mm-hmm.
it's what bugged me about Dave not getting in the Hall of Fame the first time. I'm like, we're going to put some of these other people in the Hall of Fame and you're not going to put this guy in after that kind of fan vote? After how many number one records or debuted at number one in a row, like setting records of it's crazy. It blew my mind. But I also said, like, when he goes
Uh,
in, when I will not miss it and I will be there. And I was there.
So tell us about it. Like when you heard about it, did you just like, because let's see, you're near St. Louis. So how far is
So,
Cleveland? Did you
yeah, I'm in
drive? Did
St.
you
Louis
fly?
now. 5.5. No. What am I saying? It was like 8 hours to Cleveland.
Okay. Okay.
So we drove to Cleveland, and I was once again. I'm on a budget. I'm not well off,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I'm here to say, and this may go against some of the community, but I'm about breaking stigmas. I don't like
Mm-hmm.
stigmas. Take your stigmas,
Mm-hmm.
shove them up your butt. Take your opinion and shove it up your butt. Because your opinion in the whole scheme of things and in this life, it really doesn't matter. Keep your opinions are fine, and I'm cool with everyone's allowed.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to
Absolutely.
scalping, people have opinions on ticket scalping.
Mm-hmm.
They're fine to have those opinions, and I'm okay with that. My
Yeah.
opinion on ticket scalping is as soon as you become a big enough fan of something to pay a scalper, then I think you also should be okay with the fact of selling tickets for profit. So the way I look at it myself, looking at myself, is am I doing wrong? Am I not doing wrong? Okay, I'm not a warehouse member. I
Mm-hmm.
don't sell warehouse tickets for above face value. Easy.
Yeah.
Okay, but I couldn't afford to go to Cleveland. I luckily was smart enough to figure out when that sale was going on SeatGeek, which many people have no idea that that's where they dropped those tickets. But being the hardcore Dave fan that I am and the research and drive that I have to figure it out, I went on SeatGeek. I saw how fast the tickets were selling. I couldn't believe it. They were disappearing immediately when they dropped. I bought a pair. I then said to myself, screw it. I'm buying another pair because I'm broke. I'm in a bad situation right now. And many of you watching
Yeah.
this, I'm sure you're going through the same thing. And I'm here to say,
Mm-hmm.
listen, there's a lot of people out there that are doing very well in life. And if they have the ability to go spend $600 on a Dave ticket and they make that choice, you shouldn't feel guilty about it. You're not forcing anyone to buy. No one's forcing anyone to pay $10,000 for Taylor Swift tickets. If your daughter wants to go
No.
to Taylor Swift that bad, the word no can work just as well as $10,000 if you don't have that to spend. Now, the people who are spending $10,000 on Taylor Swift tickets, I'm assuming they have that $10,000 to spend.
I hope they just have it and they're not going into debt. Ugh.
So, well, you
I
know
mean,
what?
it's happening though.
And that's a choice. And
If
some
that's what they want to do,
and
that's
it
right.
could be a
Your
learning
choice.
lesson. A learning
That's
lesson.
right.
You don't have to learn in life.
That's right.
I chose to
That's
put
oh,
a drug into my
yes.
body, and I had to learn from it and deal with the things and it's life. But it shouldn't be stigmatized. You know what I mean? Someone selling content
True.
shouldn't be stigmatized. You know what I mean? If you're using fan club membership that clearly states you can't whatever, now you're doing something wrong, and you should be
Mm-hmm.
kicked from the fan club. 100%. You have no business being in there. But because
Right.
you're witty enough to grab a second pair of tickets and you're going to use the profits from that to be able to pay for your hotel and your travel to go see your medicine, and if someone wants to shame you for that, shame on them. That's
Or
my
did surely no one shamed you for that because it did happen. People were doing it.
well.
It is.
We'll find out soon. You know, in the Dave Matthews community, I'm not one of those guys. I don't post on on all the groups. You've probably never seen my name
Yeah.
there on a lot of these things. I'm not that guy. My Dave Matthews
Yes.
is more here because it's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like my
That's
friends and my
right.
family are not Dave fans. No one that I've ever worked with is a big Dave fan. So it's here. I don't need to
Same.
go
Same.
out it all the time. So it's
Mm-hmm.
my special thing, and I keep it as my
Mm-hmm.
special thing. Um,
I like that.
but you know, with now this being posted out there, there could be some comments out there on the land or whatever.
Oh,
I'll see that guy. You know, like sign up, bud.
thanks for the comment.
A whole list of people that are, you
I
know.
love that you have a platform to share your opinion as well.
Well, I
Thank you
feel
for
like
sharing your opinion.
people are so one sided. You know, if you really live that pure and perfect of a life, God bless you. And I don't, you know, I haven't been able to do that, and I don't try to do that necessarily.
No one is perfect, first of
But
all.
that's
No
it.
one.
Perfect. But in today's day and age now, it's become a legal adventure. And on my, you know, StubHub account or whatever, it's got my tax ID, you know, and everything. And I'm getting, you know, it's documented. So if I profit over X amount of whatever, like I'm paying taxes on it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's uh, you know, it's legit. It's not like, and that's why I didn't feel like I was a criminal or this and that. Like,
No.
I
Yeah.
know some states have like rules about selling tickets outside a venue or something of that nature. Like I would never, you know what I
Mm.
mean, risk that for that.
Sure.
But I wouldn't have been able to go to Cleveland if it wasn't for me doing that. So whoever bought my
Yeah.
upper chair for $600, I love
Thank
you very
you.
much. You paid for my
I mean, they
hotel.
had to buy from
You paid
somebody.
You
Might as
paid
well
for
be
my
you.
hotel stay. You paid for my gasoline. You paid for my food. It was able to go on my pilgrimage because of you.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever you are out there,
Mm-hmm.
you must be doing better than I am out here, and I commend you for it. But you know what I mean? It's like I
Yeah.
feel like it's a tool, and if you don't use these tools in life, then you can't get to those things you want to achieve and get to. And I
That's
use
right.
those tools now in my life because, like I said, I live a greedy life. No one was stopping me from seeing Dave Matthews. You know what I mean? So I was
Yeah.
sitting there, how am I going to do this? How am I going to, I have this going on right now. I have these, I can't do, I can't. Well, we
But
found
you
a way.
did.
And
Yeah, you
that's what
found
I
a
said.
way.
Nothing will stop me from achieving things that I want to achieve. And that was my mindset with the addiction. That was my mindset with, you know, certain
Mm-hmm.
things in life, and it's never changed. Um, you know, until about
And that's incredible.
6 years ago is when I really got this new change of life.
Wow.
And that was a medical diagnosis at that point that came out of nowhere.
So tell us about that day. It started like any day, right?
Oh, it was a normal day, typical
Yeah.
day in South Florida as a poker dealer in a casino. I
Yeah.
That time I had gotten over heroin addiction, got over the methadone addiction. I had moved to a new area. I had got a good job, better than any job I'd ever had before, making more money than I'd ever had before, working less hours than some of those other jobs that paid me less. So it was
Yeah.
like more money, less hours in South Florida.
Sign me up.
I was cloud nine, and they always say they worry about stuff when it comes to people who come off of addiction. What's going to make them relapse? When's the relapse
Mm-hmm.
coming? You know what I mean? It's constant.
Yeah.
It's a constant talk for a lot of people coming out of addiction.
Yeah.
Um, and I can finally say now, with 9 to 10 years of sobriety from those drugs, that I've been tested, and there's nothing that can. If I haven't gone back to the stuff yet, there's nothing that will. And I'm happy to say that. But I went to work like a normal day as a poker dealer, smile on my face. I leave work, same smile on my face. I make the same phone call I used to make leaving work every day to my dad, and calling him on my way home, because it was like 10-minute drive home, not far. And always check
Mm-hmm.
in, hey, what are you up to? What are you doing? What are you this? What are you that? While driving home, normal main road. Mind you, I'm living the South Florida life, so I have a 2-seater convertible,
Okay.
small little bitty roadster. And I got cut off to a point that I was forced off the road. And when I was forced off the road at regular moving speeds on the road of 40, 45 miles an hour, I hit a curb, and this car only weighed 1,800 pounds or something that I was driving. 1,800 or 2,200, something like that. Lightweight car, 40 mile an hour, hits a curb. It took air, basically did some sort of flipping, second time in my life, and the car lands in a tree.
What?
For the second time in my life, I'm now in a situation when that car came to a stop of, am I alive? And that heart racing of the freaking panic and the whatever. But I can feel I'm not hurt. I jump out of the car, and there's 3 lanes east, or 3 lanes westbound, 3 lanes eastbound. They've all been fully stopped. They've all come to a complete stop because
Mm-hmm.
of this accident.
Mm-hmm.
The man who cut me off continued driving, and no one got the plate. They had description of the car. There was a high school right there. They said there, there's cameras outside the high school. I'm sure the cops can get. They never got anything. Considered a hit and run without hitting me. It was basically they cut me off and I had nowhere to go situation. I had to
Right.
choose either hit a
Right.
car to my right or hit the median to my left. At that
Right.
moment, I had the choice. I made the quick choice to the left side, away from the cars. It hit the median. It did the little flippy dippy in the air and lands in the tree or whatever. I come out of the car. All these bystanders are coming out to me. Sit down, sit down. You've just been involved in a car. I'm like, I know. Where's my fucking phone? I'm looking. Where's my phone? That's all I was asking. Where's my phone? Where's my phone? I gotta call my dad. Where's my phone?
Oh.
They're like, sit down. Call. You don't need your phone. Or we'll take. Police are already been called. They're on their way. Ambulance comes. This, that, the other. My dad was only like 15 minutes away at this time, and he was living in South Florida for that moment. And when he was on the phone with me on Bluetooth, he heard the crashing glass and metal. And we were on a Bluetooth call, and I'm just
Uh-huh.
talking, and it wasn't like I had a moment to like I knew it was just so out of nowhere, happened so immediate, and he heard it all, and he says to my mom, Brad was just in an accident, I gotta go. And he knew where I was driving to, and he knew where I was driving
Mm-hmm.
from, so he knew the road I was on, but that was it. And he
Mm-hmm.
raced to get there. I was in the ambulance, and I remember a knock on the door at on the ambulance door, and I actually opened the door. I'm
And
in
it
the
was your
ambulance,
dad?
and I open the door. It's my dad, and my dad literally, he gets to the scene, sees the car, so and just like looks at me
He's
like,
thinking, yeah, what are you opening the door for? He,
pretty much thinking he's getting to the scene to a dead son. Yeah,
Of
I don't
course
have
he is. He
children.
was.
I don't have children. I don't want children for many reasons. I can only imagine what I've put this man through my whole fucking life. Multiple car accidents of near-death proportions. Heroin addiction for multiple years. If anyone's out there, say a prayer for my dad. Give him a round of applause because he's a trooper.
Hmm. He loves you, and that's what
Oh,
love. That's what love does. Anything you got to go through all of
so,
it.
he's there or whatever. And I signed off and refused the ride to the hospital. I didn't want to go to the hospital. I was in pain. I was hurting. I was cut up a little bit, but I didn't think it was bad. I've always been that kid that was told to tough it out. And you know what I
Mm.
mean? I lived that era, it was just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, it wasn't that big of a deal. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm hurting, but what's going to the hospital going to do? I didn't want their opiates because I've already come off of addiction now, and I don't want any of
Right. Right.
that
Right.
shit, and I don't want
Right.
any medications at all. I'm not going to the hospital. I signed off not going to the
Right.
hospital. I get home 15 minutes later, my dad, and the adrenaline is now worn off. I've smoked my little bong
Hmm.
bowl, thinking, okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So it made me feel
And
better.
excruciating pain in my chest. I couldn't breathe, walk, nothing, bend over to untie a shoe, nothing. Just pain all over my body. I just felt like I'd been beat with a baseball bat. So I finally gave in, and I said, take me to the hospital. So my dad takes me to the hospital, go to the ER for the car accident, injuries or whatever. And, I had a couple like cuts, little lacerate, a little nothing much, whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
And they want to take some scans for internal injuries. Okay.
Hmm.
So they do, this, that, whatever. I'm sitting in the ER, waiting in there, waiting. I'm pissed off. Mind you, I had just come from so much shit with heroin addiction and the methadone and moving and starting a new friend base and finding a new job. And I finally found this great job. I just bought this new convertible to give me that new, you know,
Yeah.
swagger of Florida Brad. This is my Florida life. And I promoted it because like I'm not the guy who really wanted. I said, listen, I got 2 seats. That means I don't have no room for kids. And I always like laughed about it because I was like, I didn't want kids
Hmm.
or whatever, and that's why I bought the 2-seater.
Yeah.
And that was like my midlife
Yeah.
crisis at 30 years old. You know what I mean? But it was my 30-year-old midlife crisis. And I'm in the hospital in the ER, and I'm like, okay, my car is gone and destroyed forever. You know what I mean? I'm
Hmm.
pissed. I had a shitty day at
Yeah.
work. Being a poker dealer is a tough job. People are losing money all day, so all they do is tell you how shitty you are at
Yeah.
your job as you're dealing them
Yeah.
cards.
That's
F
true.
you. Yeah,
Yep.
you shot. Yeah, damn it. Ah, fuck.
Yep. Because it's
It's a
your personal
not anyone.
fault. That's yeah.
Not everyone can work in a casino. I'll tell you that one. It's an interesting job,
I'm
but it
sure.
does pay well. For many who don't know, if you have casinos in your town and you don't know what to do for a living and you're clueless and you're like, I don't have skill, education, but I'm telling you,
Casino.
yeah, yeah. I knew girls as,
Huh.
once again, a woman poker dealer, good looking, whatever, just presentable.
Uh-huh.
That's all. You be
Uh-huh.
beautiful. There's
Yeah.
overweight girls,
Yeah.
there's this girls, there's that girls, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I know girls that were making over 6 figures working under 40 hours a week.
That's crazy. Wow.
Okay. I wasn't making that because I'm not quite as pretty, but it's a nice job.
Yeah.
You froze up on me.
So you're sitting. Oh, did I? No, I didn't freeze. So you're sitting in the ER, and I'm like, what
What
happens?
right?
They do all these
Yeah.
scans? Like what?
So they do all their scans, and literally the ER doctor comes in and just ever so nonchalantly, someone coming from the medical industry. I hope maybe you can share some insight on this to me. You ready? We
Okay.
found something, but it has nothing to do with the car accident. I'm quoting word for word. I'll remember these words for the
Uh-huh.
rest of my life. They're like, we found something. And I'm like, okay, but it has nothing to do with the car accident. And I'm like, what'd you find? Weed in my system? Literally, that was my comment to them, right? Because like
Yes.
I'm like, what do you think you found? You know what I mean, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean,
And
yeah.
like, do you know you have a brain tumor? And I'm like, I look at my dad who's sitting in the ER in a chair, and he's on the verge of passing out. I'm sitting, I look at the doctor, I'm like, you sure you got the right guy, Brad? Yes, yes. We found something in your blah, 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 CT scan or whatever it was. I don't know. You have a brain tumor, and it has nothing to do with this car. Al, how do you know it has nothing to do with it? They're like, the size and location of there's nothing that causes, there's no whatever that can cause this that's in
Mm-hmm.
there. And he's like, I'm not a neurosurgeon or a neuroscientist. I don't know what I'm really, but you have a mass in your brain. So now this young guy who's, a little bitter with the world as it is, okay,
Uh-huh.
is
Uh-huh.
a little angry in the ER. My car's crashed. I've come from so far in my life of getting over addiction. Now I have a brain mass. This is the cards I'm dealt.
Mm.
So it was scary. I was angry. It was not a good place. Um, they wanted to transfer me to another hospital that had a neuroscience department because they didn't know what they were looking at. So they
Right.
want to transfer me that night to a science department in another hospital, and I refuse. I tell them this wasn't this didn't happen today. You didn't, this. I've had this here longer than today, right? And they're like, yes. Once again, the kid who always asks questions, the kid who never gets. I never was ever did what I
Mm-hmm.
was told. You know what I mean? They say we want to transfer you. Most people say
Yeah.
okay. You know what I mean? And they go.
Right.
I didn't.
Right.
Many people don't know that when you're a patient, you're in charge. You know what I mean? And
Yes, you are. You have the right to refuse, the right to do everything.
many people I don't think really know that. And maybe can maybe agree with that, the way I say that. There could be some people that
Patients
really
don't
don't
know their
understand
rights.
it
They
like that.
sign the form, but they don't read it. Yeah, they don't read it.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm sitting here, I'm pissed off. I just worked an entire shift with some very nasty people talking crap to me. You know what I mean? It was a long day. I just crashed
Mm-hmm.
my gorgeous, cool car that I freaking love. I just get told I have a brain tumor. She didn't even use the word mass, it was brain tumor. You know what I mean? I get told, and I said to the lady, I said, if you're telling me, all this, I said, this is not new. It didn't happen today. I've had this a while. I said, then it's not going to kill me tonight, right? And
Right.
she,
Well, I mean,
in a
what'd she
typical doctor
say?
fashion, she gives me the whole, well, I'm not a neuroscientist. I don't know what's in your brain. I
Yeah,
can't answer.
I can't tell
No, that's
you.
not
Mm-hmm.
it. But yes, this has been there. Yes, this is not new. So going off of that, I would say, yeah, it probably won't kill you tonight. It's kind of what she's looking at me like uncertain. And I'm like, give me my papers. I'd like to go home. I was like, I'll figure everything out, tomorrow and let me sleep on
Clear
whatever and
head.
find some
Yeah, yeah.
hospital to go. And I'm glad I did that because, I got to really do some research and my dad went to
Mm-hmm.
work.
Mm.
And my dad gets on the internet and starts really deep searching neuroscientists in South Florida to start this, that, the other. And we start doing some deep searching and deep research into specific doctors and background or where they went to school, this, that, things they,
Mm-hmm.
specialize in. And it was
Mm-hmm.
one of those weird situations, but we found the guy and we went down to Miami. We went to go see him. They got me in like that. It was like immediate. They did
Wow.
more scanning. I mean, once again, doctor stuff. I don't know. Are you there?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, it said recap. So, CT scans with contrast and this and that. I don't know, all kinds of different stuff. So he comes back he's like, I have the results. He said, first of all, I want you to know, so just so you can get this out of your head, it's not a tumor. What you have is not a tumor. And I was like, okay. So he's like, we're not worrying about cancer. Let that clear your head and all that stuff. We're not worried about any of those things. I'm like, okay, okay, okay. Keep talking, doc. You know what I mean? Like we're feeling,
Yeah, it
positive.
felt good. It felt like, or yeah.
Hold on. And he's like, but with that being said, that doesn't mean we're out of the clear here, because what you have is a very complex situation. And I said, okay, I'm all ears, doc. Shoot, what we got? You have 2 ticking time bombs in your head, and I can fix one of them.
Do you have an aneurysm?
That was one of them. And the other one's called a brain AVM, arteriovenous malformation. It's a birth defect.
Explain what that
Didn't find out.
is. Okay.
Didn't find out about it until 30 years old. Now,
So it's been
funny
there all
story.
along.
I had been to doctors as a kid for headaches. They never scanned my head. They put me on migraine pills. They told me at 13 years old that I couldn't eat Doritos anymore because of the MSG that was in Doritos after taking food logs for X amount of months. They never scanned my head. I had medical care. I had medical insurance my whole life. My parents, once again, provided a good life.
Yeah.
It was never discovered. So, what he says is basically the size and the location of this AVM is fully inoperable, because if they go in there, they're going to fuck some shit up. And basically, they said I live too good of a life for them to risk that.
Take the
They do
risk. Yeah.
this risk analysis of whatever, and they're like, you drive, you eat, you talk, you go to concerts, you smoke weed, you live a life, you this, you that, you whatever. We're going to risk you never talking again, never walking again, never this again, never that again. Who knows? Or kill you. We will not do the surgery. So basically what I've been told is this arteriovenous malformation. It is a ball of yarn of blood vessels and arteries that didn't form correctly before birth. And that ball of yarn or whatever, obviously there's different grades of AVMs. There's different locations it could be, depending on what it's attached to or whatever. What mine is attached to is supposedly everything, like motor, speech, function, this, that. I don't know what part of the brain, the science part of all this, but
Right.
it's not good. And just going through these discussions with the neurosurgeons and in the sit down of their offices, and like seeing that the way they give you this type of news, if no one's ever dealt with, obviously I've never had a diagnosis like this of cancer or anything like that. I can only imagine or whatever, but
Yeah. Right.
It's more than anyone should ever have to go through. When doctors look at you and tell you that you have 2 ticking time bombs and they can fix one of them. You know what I mean? You kind of tell them like, okay. And this guy was so confident. This surgeon, he was young, genius, and they say, we're going to go through your artery using a freaking, catheter. And we're going to put these little platinum coils inside of your aneurysm. We're going to block off the blood flow so that thing doesn't rupture. Okay, sure, whatever. My brain surgeon was amazing, number one. Number two, he did everything on my request. I refused all opiates. I refused all pain medication afterwards. I refused everything. I had to do a cerebral angiogram, which usually they will give the people a local whatever, and I opted to do it fully awake. He had said he had never done one. He had never done one fully awake, but he said that I would be
How was
hooked
it
up
for
to
you?
IVs, where if I did go into a panic attack or something or whatever, they would be able to put me out immediately. If, wanted to, kind of thing. So, I told him, I asked a whole bunch of questions. He said it shouldn't be painful. There should be nothing pain. We're not causing anything that would cause pain. You know what I mean? He said, but I'm here to tell you, it'll be probably a feeling that you could never explain to anyone, or it's going to be the most foreign, whatever. And I'm just like, I said, listen, doc. He said, it's going to be, that's what I remember. He said, it's going to be uncomfortable. And I was like, my whole fucking life is uncomfortable, doc. I said,
Mm.
as long as I'm not in
Oh,
pain, don't hit me with that stuff. You know, don't put me out. I don't want to be
yeah,
put. I don't want it.
yeah,
I don't want the chemicals, the
yeah,
drugs, those pain relievers. I don't want it. So I said, I'll
yeah.
deal with it. They said, do you want us to play music while the procedure's going on, because we have a stereo system in. This was like a giant like auditorium surgical room that I was in.
Wow. Wow.
So they said, would you like music playing during this? So they had to put me in this whole big, you know, like one of those big old things where they, you know, slide you into the tube or whatever. But I also had an IV where they were
Mm-hmm.
squirting liquid into my brain while being awake through that. So it's hot. The liquid that they shoot into you, it is hot. And I'm not saying
Hmm.
warm. It's a feeling of heat that you will never feel in your life outside of this. But because they were shooting it into my skull, my brain, anything that was vascular in my lit up like a ball of fire. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, but I had to lay still
Mm-hmm.
in this tube while they're shooting me up with this liquid, and he's counting down. And he would say, all right, I'm going to inject you in 5, you know what I mean? He's like, hold tight, you know, don't, because I'm not supposed to move while they're taking the
Oh,
pictures of everything.
right. Oh
This
my
is why they
gosh.
usually knock people out with stuff, you know what I mean? Because
Yes.
people can't take that
Yes.
reality,
Yes.
okay?
No,
But I
no.
promise you, I told you, I've been through these car accidents. I've been through heroin addiction. I used to put needles in my own vein. As scary as it
Mm-hmm.
sounds, and as much as whatever, you know, I said, I'm not scared of no man. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I'm not scared.
Mm-hmm.
Give it to me. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And I said to the doctor, I said
Yeah.
two things. I said, if I'm not screaming and if there's no tears coming from my eyes, don't hit me with no drugs. And I took it like a champ while Dave Matthews was playing in this freaking surgical auditorium. And they put Dave
That was going
Matthews,
to
they
be
had a
the question
Spotify,
is what
whatever.
did you play? Yeah.
If I had to be completely honest with you, the entire ordeal was so involved in listening to the doctor, and I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah.
I couldn't even, they had it going, and it was the Dave playlist. It was Spotify just song it, but it was,
Mm-hmm.
I remember the guitar and the voice, and it calmed me enough for them to start proceeding. Once we got started, it's like, I don't know, I've been through dental procedures and root canals, and once you start, like, I'm definitely a mind over body person. I feel like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I could probably take a gunshot. I'm guessing.
Well, I hope you don't ever have to.
I hope so too. You know what I mean? Unless it's for saving a family member,
Yes.
I do it in a heartbeat. You know, well, I'm here to say, I'm curious. That stuff, you know, because if you saw just pictures alone from the 2 worst car accidents, and I've been in multiple. I've probably been in a dozen car
Mm.
accidents in my life, but 2,
Oh my God. Dude, that's so
at least a dozen
terrible.
car accidents. Not all my fault, not all drug induced, many different, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I've been involved in
Yeah.
more car
Yeah.
accidents than any person
They
should have.
just happen sometimes. Yeah. Yeah.
It,
Oh my
it's the
God.
strangest thing. Yes, yes, I'm a magnet. As a passenger, as a driver, I've had both. I've been hit and I've hit. It's like, I don't know. Some people go through their whole life and never experience a motor vehicle accident as a passenger or as a, you know, person who does it. Or, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
So
that's
they,
what I
so they
wish
give
for
me,
everyone.
they tell me they can do this. Yeah, they tell me they can do this surgery. We say, okay, we're going to do the surgery. They end up doing they couldn't do the vascular coiling of the aneurysm with me being awake that I had to be put out for. But
Mm-hmm.
afterwards, in the ICU of the neuroscience department, um,
That's a fancy department.
Boca Regional Hospital has what's called the Marcus Neuroscience Institute. Okay, I'm here to tell you, if you ever have any family with any brain issues or whatever, go down to
That's a good
Boca.
one.
They were fantastic, and my doctor was fantastic. He knew what he was doing, and I can tell you that, you know, throughout my whole life, having those headaches, I was always told, you know what I mean, oh, migraine headaches, they're migraines,
Wow.
okay? They never scanned my head. They weren't migraines. That's when I started really smoking marijuana, was at that age. Being involved in sports at 15 years old, headaches, headaches, headaches. Every time I would go play sport, I'd get these headaches. The migraine
Mm-hmm.
pills didn't do it. Stop eating burritos didn't do it. I still got these migraine headaches. Oh, maybe they're a little less frequent. Or, you know, there was no we would try to track things, and there was nothing that ever
Doesn't it blow
corresponded.
your mind that they never scanned your head because the technology was there, it was
So
available.
yes, and that's the one thing I've talked about since getting diagnosed. It does not make sense to me knowing that I came from, like I said, an affluent area with health insurance and health care. They
Uh,
put me on a prescription. It's those prescriptions, man. They want you on those pills.
a lot of
They
doctors
want you on
do.
those.
A lot of doctors do. Yeah, and
And
the pharmaceutical companies definitely do. And what
you
are the
have a
pharmaceutical
13-year-old.
I mean, man, it is a oof,
Oh yeah, it's a racket. It's a freaking racket.
it's
Yep.
a
But
whole story.
I clawed my fingernails into my head is what I used to do because the pain was so bad. I would claw
Oh
and you
my
would see fingernail
God.
marks on my stuff. That's how bad it was as a teenager. So marijuana was the only thing that took away those goddamn headaches as a teenager.
Hmm.
And I used to say to my dad as a teenager, he just thought, oh, Brad just smoking pot, just bullshit. That's Brad. Brad's a bullshitter. Brad's a this.
Right.
Brad's the guy who
Right.
questions. You know what I mean? It's like at 15 years old, I was told, like, oh, okay, whatever. But deep down, coming from a guy who smoked weed in college, my dad didn't look at weed as being a bad thing. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
I knew when I got into heroin, I had to hide that one, though. You know what I mean? I knew that wouldn't have
Yeah.
been as.
That's just a different, it's a
I
whole
knew,
different ball
yeah.
game.
Yeah. So with the weed, it's funny. It's like they say that your body, like, your body better than a doctor or whatever. Like,
Of
I've
course
read
you do. You've lived with it for however many years you are old.
the fact that marijuana fixed those headaches for me at that age. Once they gave me my diagnosis of everything, light bulbs just started going off. Because
Hmm.
I had brain surgeons running me through these questionnaires about my life and about all it because this thing is so rare that they don't have much data. And they don't have any statistical data to study to tell them, to figure out what to do to fix it or be better, maybe that it won't rupture. You know what I mean? It's very weird. So they're asking me a whole lot of questions. And then they started asking me heavily a lot of questions involving seizures because based off the size and location of your mass, you should be having seizures. And they're like, have you ever had a seizure? And I'm like, not that I'm aware of. And they're like, not that you're aware of. And I'm like I've never been foaming at the mouth, like, I'm like, I don't know what I don't think so. You know what I mean? You're the
Yeah.
brain
Yeah.
surgeons. I remember saying that to them. And I got to say that in my life. How many people get to say that in their lives? Like, seriously, how many people
Thankfully,
out
not
there?
many. I mean,
I
a
got to
lot,
actually
but
say
most
the brain
people don't.
surgeons. I said, I don't know, you're the fucking brain surgeons. I said, how have I never had a seizure? And they're like looking at me and I'm like, I said, I got one. I said, what about marijuana? And my doctor literally sets his pen down. He goes, what about it? And he looks at me. And I'm like, I've been smoking it daily for half of my life because I'm now 30 years old when this got discovered.
Hmm.
And he's like, you've been what? And I'm like, pretty much a daily smoker half my life since I was 15 because these headaches didn't take care of. I smoked pot.
Hmm.
And he's like, okay, we're going to do a little more, but for the time being, don't stop smoking that plant. And that was his answer. Don't stop smoking that plant. So since then, we're 6 years. October, I guess, was the 6-year mark for me since this was discovered. The aneurysm was coiled. I've never had a headache as severe as what it
Hmm.
used to be since that aneurysm
Yeah.
coiling, which makes me believe that aneurysm was probably there since my teens and just
Wow.
never ruptured.
After 12 car wrecks, never ruptured.
And drug usage, car wrecks, stress,
Mind blowing.
teenage years, sports. This thing is supposed to rupture. And even the doctors, when you look at prognosis and
Yeah.
this and that, the way that the doc, it was so. The hardest part for me was like the first 6 months to a year after diagnosis, because the way the doctors talked to me, the way the doctors looked at me, it was like there was times where they would avoid eye contact, where it was like they didn't want to tell me how bad what I have really is.
Mm.
And
Wow.
when they were talking to me and telling me things, the way they say things is like enjoy your life. Like, live low stress. Like, you know what I mean? They're like, you're 30 some years old, you've this, you've that, you've blah, blah, blah. Many kids die of this on the football field. They think they're healthy. They're 13, they drop dead. And they don't know they have, what it was 90 something % of the diagnosed cases of this are found in autopsy, is what one of the first things they said when they actually diagnosed it. Over 90% of people don't know they have this till they're dead from it.
Wow.
So just that anxiety of just knowing that, like, this could rupture right now as you and me are talking and having this conversation was a very, very hard pill to swallow. How do you live? How do I do? I don't want to work. I don't want to do. I don't want to that. Like, what do you do when you just worry and think that today's it? Like,
Do
as
you
much
feel
as I
that
was
way
so
every
ready.
day?
Well, like I say, for the first 6 months to a year was really like more anxiety driving and bad. But, it's funny how the world works, because I'm 22, 24, 26 doing heroin. I get deep into it and I want to die so bad. I just want to die. I don't want to live. I don't want to wake up. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to this. I don't want to that. And then the doctors tell you that you should be dead and that you probably won't live a long life. And the last thing now you think about is wanting to die. As much as it
Why do you think that
depresses me to
is?
have this in my brain, as much as I may get down and have periods of time where it's very hard on me, I live for experience, because I don't think that life is planned to be long for me. So it's like, I need to get more Dave shows in. I need to get more experience in. I need to go see more and do more. Like, you have to, I need more to make more money. I get so greedy and hungry to make more and to grow, and every day that I don't do more, every day that I don't like it's so depressing to me. Like, somebody like, oh, I'm gonna have a relaxing day and just sit around and I'm gonna be sassy, or whatever. Like, okay, cool. Like,
Right, right.
I love that too, but like, no, I get depressed when I sit around and don't do anything for a day. Because what if that was the
Mm-hmm.
last day? And I die tomorrow from this damn thing. What, the last day I was sitting on my ass watching TV? So
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
I don't think I have fully, and maybe some people out there will relate with this. I was diagnosed 6 years ago with this crazy diagnosis, and I don't think I've still come to terms with the diagnosis fully. And I don't know if I ever really will. I don't think I'm
And
in
that's okay.
denial about it. But
No.
I think it's one of those things that I'm just like, I still don't believe it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I try not to think about it too much, because, like you've said, life is already stressful enough, and this and that and everything else. But it's what made me realize so much more about myself. That the way this thing is and how big it is, I fully believe that I pump more stuff in my brain than some other people do.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that, our brain produces chemicals like serotonin and, all this stuff or whatever. And when you do
Well,
drugs,
yeah.
I feel, my addictive personality is somehow because of this extra blood flow that I have, this high, because basically what the way the doctors explain this ball of yarn is, most people have a capillary system that takes blood from arteries, changes the pressure of the blood, and sends it to the veins. Okay? I'm
Mm-hmm.
missing that capillary system. So I have a
Yeah.
high pressure artery that is dumping blood directly into low pressure veins. Plus a big old ball of tangle in the midst of all that, in the middle of the brain. And they pretty much told me that if it does rupture, it'd be symptoms of like a stroke or whatever, but it would probably be it. There's no big brain bleed.
Wow.
So we hope that doesn't happen. It's, part of me hopes that is what kills me. It's like, I hate to die from a car. I'd hate to die from a guy who shoots me And that's how I live my life. I live my life like this is what's going to kill me. This guy isn't, this bully isn't, this isn't, this risk to go take this job, this whatever, to
Mm-hmm.
try this or to go do that or to ask that girl out over there. That ain't going to kill me. Nothing's
No.
going to kill me. And because of it, I live to some people a sour life. You know, some people think I'm bitter. Some people think I'm an ass. Some people think I'm hard to get along with, or, you know, fine. I'm not for you. And I'm okay with that. More people should be okay
Yeah.
with that.
You have to be able to well, no, you need to live life like you
Hmm.
need to live life. Like however it works for you is what is right for you. And
We
there
all
is
look at
no right or
broken
wrong.
ways, but it's not broken. It's I am me. I'm not broken. I'm Brad.
You are
And
Brad, yeah.
many
And
people
this
who
is
know
what
me
Brad
very
is.
well, that's exactly how they describe me too. And people are like, "Oh, what's Brad like?" What Brad is Brad. Yeah, I'm a unique individual. You know, I mean, some of the sweetest people I've met, Dave fans. You know, they look at me and they're like, you know, how are you a Dave fan? You know what I mean? It's like I don't fit into the category, and I don't. No one ever like has said it like that, but they're like, you know,
Right.
I'm sure you're such a Dave Matthews fan. You know what I mean? Because there are a lot of the
Mhm.
fans that I don't against any of you. I envy you people. The people who are in the, you know, their own little fantasy land or clouds of happiness and whatever. And I've seen plenty of them enjoying their times at Dave's shows, and I'm envious of you folks, but there's another side to this band and the darkness and the struggles of life and troubles and that's more my Dave side. You know, it's
Mhm.
I can only imagine what that man went through reading some of his life stories and stuff that he's been through or has experienced. And, you know, I listen, it's healing music one way or the other. I don't know how or what it's done to me special, how it's done it, but I'm approaching 75 shows this year. I'm approaching, you know, where we got 22 years of live shows. I started seeing them as kind of like a whatever mistake. It's not like I just, you know, flew huge into it. I was kind of force fed it. Um, it's been a ride, and I don't think it'll be over like you said. I mean, until he hangs it up or dies or I'm dead. That's it. There's
Right.
no
Right.
there's no other way about it. No one will change me. If I met a girl who I thought was the greatest thing in the world and she said, "Listen, I'd love to marry you, but you got to stop listening to Dave Matthews. Can't go to any more of these concerts, whatever." Love can wait at that point in my life. And like,
There should never be relationships that start with ultimatums.
are you kidding me though? There's plenty of them, and I have plenty of
It
buddies whose
should not.
wife hate Dave Matthews. You know what I mean? I got one buddy. His
I
wife
mean,
hates Dave Matthews, and he enjoys going with me. But he was never a crazed fan. But he enjoys the live show, and he loves going with me because I bring something different to his Dave experience because of my knowledge and my
hmm,
whatever. You know.
yes,
Like
yes.
before a song even gets played, he's like, "What do you think they're gonna play next?" He plays that whole game with me, and when I get him right, which for this guy I've gotten quite a bit right, he looks at me, he's like, "How do you fucking know this stuff?" And I'm like, you know, oh, Dave's got a 12-string guitar right there. You got to understand that when you change the guitar, you know, you give him the whole
You're
story.
paying
You know what I mean?
attention. You're paying
And
attention.
it's like he just
Yes.
played this song, and usually after that song, it's like it's a good chance of this one or this. I mean, it's really between these two. And it's like he doesn't get it, but he gets entertainment out of watching me. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Because I give him that. So it's a crazy world. It's a crazy band. It's a crazy community. We have the most, you know, wide community you've ever seen for one band. Just like the
It's a
band
lot of different kind of
itself.
people.
We have
Yeah.
white, black, Asian, straight, gay, trans, this, that.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
name one
Mhm.
kind of person. We got people with diseases. What was that one kid who died?
Mhm.
The Kit Kat Sam or whatever that, right? I mean,
Yes.
you have, you know,
Yeah, I
people
can't remember what
fine.
his, yeah.
Like I said, I'm not as involved as I used to be. When I was craze, like when Facebook was first coming out and stuff, I was in Dave groups and more involved in stuff. As an adult later in my life, I've gotten less, uh, less crazed on the fan base side, like online, or at least, but
Right.
it's here. Like
Right.
I said, it's always
It's
here.
in
And
your
it's like,
heart.
no matter what, like I'm still constantly listening to Dave.
Yeah.
Um, I don't buy like I used to when it comes to all his CD. They
Oh, no.
when
The
they first
internet's made
started
it
with
too
the
easy.
when they started with the live releases or whatever. It's like I owned like all the first 12 whatever they were. You know what I mean? And then it was like, okay, you guys are releasing too many of these. Forget it.
It's a lot. Can you imagine
So
having everything? I
and
mean,
I was
it's
in
like
trouble
live
first.
tracks 247. It's like I can't have all of them.
That's when live track started. It was small, and it's like I had the first like 12 live tracks, and I would always order them. But then it was like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. I can't afford this. So. And
Yeah, it's a
posters, same
lot.
thing. Like I would love to have a
Oh
poster for
God.
all 73 of my shows, but there's no way.
No,
Maybe
it's
one
a
day when I
whole
hit the
expense.
Powerball, when I hit the Powerball
Yes.
one day, I'll go back and I will look and I will find and buy on eBay or whatever else every single poster for every show I've been to. Yeah,
I hope that happens to you.
one day,
I hope that's happened. And it's funny
one day.
because a lot of people I talk to, they say, and it's always a Dave Matthews Band related thing. Like if I win the lottery, this is what's going to happen, and it's usually in the
Yeah,
Dave Matthews Band
yeah.
world. And a
I've
lot of it is like
I have
it.
mine. I already have my lottery thing. I've said it for 20 years. You want to know what my lottery thing is?
I do.
One full tour.
Ooh, yeah, yeah, that'd be
If
cool.
I hit a lottery for 200, $300 million, what's 50,000 or $100,000 to spend on a whole tour? Go to every
On
show of a tour.
happiness, that's a cheap price for happiness.
And
if you if you got $30
the
million
reason
dollars or
why I've
whatever.
always wanted to do that, I want to experience what it's like to 60 shows in 3 months or what, you know what I mean? What they do. Like, I want to know what that's like. And
And
to
you
be able
got
to
to have
experience
money to
that,
do that
travel.
well.
Well, sure. Lottery. We're going.
Otherwise, it would be painful. Yeah, you got to have money if you're
Yeah.
going to go to 30 shows and do it really
Yeah.
well.
But
And no
yeah,
one can
if
do
you
it better
ever
than the Dave
if you
Matthews
ever
Band.
see this face, if you ever see this face as a Powerball winner on Google or your Facebook or whatever, just know that I'm booking that entire thing, and that there will probably be a videotape made of it.
I hope so. You know what? The Space
I just
Between podcast will be there live to report the story.
follow. I'll hire you to follow me on the entire tour. That's it, and then I can call it a business expense. We're good.
Boom. We've got a plan. Now we just need to make it happen.
That's my ultimate fantasy is a whole tour. To be able to do a whole tour, I think would be absolutely ridiculous to think of, to plan, to this, to that. And I want to road trip it. I don't want to fly.
hmm
So even though, if you hit the
Well,
Powerball, you have the money. I want
to
a
make every
bus.
show, you
Like
couldn't drive. Oh, a
I,
bus. Ah,
no, I would, yeah. If you hit the lottery, you got hundreds of millions of dollars. What's hiring a tour
that's
bus and a
true.
driver? You're not driving it. They're going to drive. You're going to have this whole squad. You're
I've
going to take
never
them
thought
around
like a
some bus.
millionaire.
It's gonna cost you $6 or more at least. I figure. I just, yeah, that's
I
what I
have
would
no
do. 40,
idea.
50, every single one road tripped with my own bus. Yes,
Damn.
yes.
I I want that to happen for you. It's got to happen to somebody. Somebody's got to win the lottery, but you do got to play. Are you playing the lottery?
I
Because you
I
can't
have
win if you
played the
don't
lottery
play.
as a poker dealer for 6 years. I have a gambling little side in me, but
Sure.
also because I worked in a casino for as long as I did, I know way too much to
hmm
gamble too much, if that makes
Yeah. No, I
sense.
get it. No, I
There's
get
a
it.
reason. There's a reason that places are in business. You know what I mean? You don't
Oh,
see
they're making
casinos go out of
money.
business. Yeah, they make the
What is the
money.
famous
Yep.
saying
Yep.
that Vegas was not built on winners? It was built on losers.
No, it was not. Ma'am. That's, so knowing that, like, yeah, when those Powerballs get to the crazy amounts, you know what I mean, where they just keep talking about it and you can't stop hearing about it,
Yeah,
then
you got to do
I'll
it.
go throw $10.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hell yeah. Somebody's got to win. For I'll
Yeah.
put $20 up for the chance to be a billionaire. Sounds like a good
Let me tell you,
financial
with
decision.
the way that I run, I don't know. I have a buddy who says, like, I have been dealt so many shit cards, but yet I somehow always bounce back. He's like, you are the king of just, you know what I mean? And he calls it being lucky. He's like, you get this, and then you land a big sick job. You get screwed over with this, you get that, but then you find out this. And then he's like, you get diagnosed with this, but you end up figuring out that, you know what, at least I know where these headaches come from. And now you have a new way that you
Hmm.
live, and you wouldn't
Hmm.
change that for anything. He's like, you live a life that many people will never understand, never live, and never whatever. He's like, you live a very independent life because you don't give a fuck. You don't, if today's it is what it is. And I don't worry about, certain things because of that, like that other people do worry
Hmm.
about. Because of that
Do you
medical
find
diagnosis.
freedom in that?
What's that?
Do you find freedom in not giving a fuck?
I do, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I
That's
think
what
there is so
quit my
much
job
freedom in that.
during COVID, because of the medical thing or whatever. I was very
Hmm.
worried when COVID first came out. No one knew anything. We were all clueless. It was very scary when it first
It
happened.
was.
And my job wanted me to wear a certain kind of mask, and I wanted to wear a different kind of mask. And they said, no, it has to have our logo on it. Well, your logoed mask is a t-shirt. It's not even a real mask. I said, I want to use this mask. It actually has some filtration. It was a real mask, not just a
Right.
covering. Well, they wanted me to wear their black mask with their logo on it, and mine was white, and blah, 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 and they refused to allow it, so I quit my job. And at that point, I started my own business. I struggle month to month. It is what it is, trying to build and find that happy place. I'm basically a glorified reseller, buying and selling trading cards. I grew up, my first job at 15 years old was working selling baseball cards in a little card shop local. I used to ride my bike to work. And here I am, 38 years old, full circle, back to trading cards. And it's because during the COVID, the market just flew in trading cards. I knew enough about it. I was curious to learn more. And 4.5 years now into it, I guess I'm doing something right because I'm still here selling cards for a living. And, I set up at these trade shows and I buy and I sell and I buy and I sell and I trade. And I get to deal with a lot of kids. A lot of kids come to me and trade with me, and I have a really good, as nasty of a person and as bitter as I am, and how many people think I'm such a jerk, and these kids love me. And I think it's because I don't have my own that I'm able to give them the attention that they crave, or you know what I mean, that maybe some of
You
these other
treat them
dealers don't.
like an
Because a lot of these,
individual and not a parent. And kids like that. They
well,
do. They
these
want to be
other
treated like a
a lot of
person.
people in the industry. Yeah, a lot of these people in this industry that I'm in, they're all very, kind of jerky, and a lot of men. It's a busy job. You're doing a lot of things. A lot of these
Hmm.
guys kind of see some of these young kids, and they say, oh, they're not going to buy anything. You know what I mean? So they
Yeah.
don't want to waste their time
Yeah.
with them, and they just whatever. But it's funny when you give a kid that chance or whatever, and you give him that right experience. Dad comes over 10 minutes later and dad's got the money and dad comes and spends the money where, the kid is getting respected. And
Yeah.
I think it's because of a lot of what I've been through and a lot of, where I stand now in my time of life. And I don't want to have children because I don't want to leave a child fatherless. And with
Hmm.
my
I can
diagnosis,
understand that.
and, when doctors tell you could die today, tomorrow, blah, blah, we all could. So, I mean, I get it. Like, a lot of people tell me, like, well,
And I
what's the
wanted
case
to
with,
say that earlier. We are all ticking time bombs. Every
we
single
are.
one of us.
Are, but that shouldn't be, I don't want to enthuse other people not to make kids because we could all die tonight. But for
No, no,
me,
no. But it is
mhm,
real.
for me, it was one of those things that doctors told me to have as low stress life as possible. So I'm like, well, kids are awfully stressful, whether they mean to be or not.
Uh-huh. They are.
Like I said, the stress that I've caused my dad over the years, and obviously I couldn't have done anything about this diagnosis, but I can't imagine what that
Of course
feels.
not.
It makes me dread my parents getting older. It makes me dread a lot of things in life that, we have to deal with. Um, but hopefully Dave Matthews will help me through that when that time comes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously,
He's been the
we're,
constant. He's been the constant.
we're yeah, we have to, deal with life and it is what it is. But, I'm one of those people that now it's like, I'm not scared of anything. I'm not, you know,
Hmm.
not a whole lot you can do
Isn't
that
that a
worries
peaceful
me.
place to be? It's a
I mean,
peaceful
I'm
place to
scared of
be.
Dave not being around. Um,
Well, it's going to happen
that,
one day.
I wasn't scared of this. I wasn't scared of this election either way. You know what I mean? I wasn't scared of, there's certain, I wasn't scared really of COVID. When I first started, I had a job. I was worried about, oh, this jerk off's going to get me sick. You know what I mean? Like I was worried about other people
Yeah.
more than I was really me. It's not me. It's
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but in today's day and age, I hope that my story, if anything, just teaches people to be a little less vocal about stuff they can't control. Be a little less hard on people that you necessarily don't know their story or everything as to why they, maybe someone has a political belief because of some medical diagnosis that they were given, or maybe they have this, belief about something else because of whatever. And it's
Nobody
understandable.
knows. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
More people need to talk more. And if people talk more, instead of talking behind, talk to. You know what I mean? People
Hmm.
always go to their Facebook and they'll bitch about things afterwards. Oh, I can't believe this fucking day I had at work. This guy was such an asshole, blah, blah, blah. Why didn't you talk to that asshole while he was in front of you?
Right.
Don't
Right.
take it to your friends and don't put it on your friends have enough of their own crap in there. They don't need to read your post on Facebook about your terrible day and your why didn't you confront the situation while the situation was here? And that's what I
Hmm.
try to do now,
Hmm.
is think like
Hmm.
that. And I know I'm not perfect. I
Yeah.
still probably, should practice more, what I preach. But, it's one of those things like I strive to be a better man. I wish I was better. I wish I was Dave Matthews. I wish I was that good of a man. I think I think he's a good man. That's it. You know what I mean? And
Well,
that's why I
yeah.
don't have to believe. I don't have to like every song he writes. I don't have to believe every political
Right.
thing that he has. I don't have to.
Hmm.
It does not matter because the whole package you can tell, and you can tell what that
Yeah.
man stands for, and you can tell. I feel like if he met any of us at the right time, at the right whatever, don't interrupt that man if you
Hmm.
catch him out in public and he, you know what I mean.
I know.
But
Yes.
if you walk in a mall and happen to see Dave Matthews and there's not anyone that man is going to shut down. You know what I mean? I don't believe it.
Right. Right. He's he's pretty awesome. And I mean,
And
I have to say it, you are too. And I'm so thankful that you
I appreciate it.
shared all of this because it is a lot. And I know, I mean,
I,
it's not even my life, it's your life, but I
and it's
feel
only part of it.
what you're
There's obviously
saying,
so much,
and it's a lot.
yeah, there's so much more. I ramble a lot. I'm sure I missed out on some things I wanted to share, but I'll try to be more active now that I'm always that shy guy. I'm that guy who, when you're with me and you're, a close friend and you're whatever, I'm not shy at all. But to those that aren't, I don't let everyone into my life. I don't let everyone know
You should
the
not.
bad. I don't let everyone know, certain things. Yeah. That's why today I just said screw it. You know what I mean? I got nothing to hide. I got nothing to be scared of. So just talk.
No,
More
and
people need to talk.
I
And I guess
think,
that's,
yes, yes.
yeah,
You've said it a
that's the
couple of
one thing I want to
times,
push.
I hope that your story helps someone because I promise you, even if no one ever listens to this that has gone through something similar, they will know someone that has gone through something because this is not
100%.
something that is uh not happening in the world. It's happening everywhere in the world, all
And if
around
you
you, and
don't
you don't
talk
even know
about
it.
it, and if you don't talk about it or look for that relatable whatever, it's just gonna sit inside and boil until it kills you. And
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think that, once again, with the brain diagnosis, knowing my string with the marijuana, and what I'm one of those believers. If you believe you're sick, you'll make yourself sick. If you
Yes.
believe you're worthless, you will be worthless.
Yes.
If you believe you can do anything, you can do
You
anything.
can do a
You
lot.
may not, like
I
I
can't
do a lot of
fly.
things. Believe it or not, I'm here to tell you, you can fly. Just take a little bit more work. You know what I mean? It's going to take some work.
Shut my eyes and just get to the right level of high, and I will feel like I am flying.
Who knows? Right?
Gola
I
cheese.
how it goes. But yeah, I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. And,
Yeah.
mind over matter, mind over body situation. I mean, once again, addiction, you want to get over addiction, mind over matter. You gotta, if it's not here first, it ain't happening.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to put those things into words. It's hard to find people to talk to. It's hard to this and that. But it is what it is. And I think the more that
Yeah.
gets shared and the more that gets talked and the more that you would ever, because of how open I am, people I've worked with, they've come to me with,
Mm-hmm.
my cousin, he's addicted, he this, he that. People have come to me with things from all over. A lot of people come to me for all different stuff because they know I'm that guy who, even if I don't have the right answer, they just still want to hear the wrong answer. They want to hear something out of my mouth. You know what I mean? And it's like, because I'm willing to. You know what I mean? I'm always willing to try. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
side of that, what are you going to do? You try and fail? Okay. You know what I mean? I've tried and failed a lot.
That's how we learn.
But if you don't
That
try,
is how we learn.
if you don't try ever, you will regret it and it will dwell on you and you will drive yourself sick, insane, and everything else. I'm a broken
It's true.
individual, but I'm here. I'm a productive member of society. I'm not perfect. I don't want to be perfect.
Mm-mm.
And that's it. But I've learned so much more about myself. I know that my blood, whatever system, is different than everyone else's. I know something in my brain is a little different than everyone else's. And I use that
Mm-hmm.
as my key to blame my, whatever I'm negative about. So if I don't like the way that I think I talk too much or this and that, I blame my brain mass. It's the brain mass that makes me
Yep.
talk too much because of blood flow. It's, you know what I mean? That's my thing. Oh, you smoke too much. Why do you smoke weed all the time? Why are you my brain mass? You know what I mean? It is what it
Got a
is.
brain mass. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who are you to
But
tell
it's
me
true. But
no?
it's
Who are you to tell
exactly.
Why are you
Who
such an
are
asshole?
you?
Diagnosed with this brain mass, so I don't know if I need to explain anything more to you, but yeah, I might be an asshole to you. And if someone finds me to be that asshole, well, that's kind of how I'll tell them too. I'll look at them and be like, I don't know, I can't help it. And I think we should congratulate people on being asshole. Without assholes, where would this world be? You don't want a world of
Yeah.
people that live this whole sugar coated, fake. That's what I have. I refuse to be fake. I cannot.
Yeah.
I've been through too much in my life, and I don't have the longest way to waste my time with fake.
Mm-hmm. Be genuine. Be who you are.
Doesn't
There's no
mean
one
you
else
have to
like you.
be.
Be who you are.
There's a difference between being fake and being, vile. You know what I mean? It's,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes, for sure.
and that's just called being a human, and knowing how to, act right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, dude, I can't thank you enough. This is an amazing story. You're not alone. There are other people going through terrible things that you would never ever assume that they are going through. And so be kind to people. Be kind to people because you have no idea what people are going through. Or just be quiet. Don't say it. Yeah. Well, thank you again so much for coming on the show. And guys, if you are listening to this on a podcast app, just know that you can watch this on YouTube. It's simply under the space between podcasts. And you never know who is going to be on the next show. That's the fun thing about all of this. Each show is a different person, and you just never know where this person is coming from or what their story is, what country they live in. At this point, I've had people all around the world be on this show to talk about their journey with this band, because the Dave Matthews Band is not a band just for the United States of America. The Dave Matthews Band is a worldwide band, changing lives worldwide. And that is the story right there. And so I'm on a mission to continue to tell that journey. So if you are interested in sharing your personal journey, please contact me through any of the social medias. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, any of that. And so please reach out to me. My story cannot be written without your story. And so again, I thank you for coming on the show, Brad. I appreciate it. Well, guys, until the next episode, I wish everyone all the peace, love, and of course, Dave Matthews Band. Until next time.